Welcome to this Tuesday night program at Dhamma Darini on the fourth Tuesday of the month. We are sharing the program with the Wat Buddhanasorn. Now you can see the beautiful and inspiring place down there in Fremont. Recognizing the Venerable Dhamma Ruchika, we're happy to see you with us. Recognizing my monastic colleagues at Aranya Bodhi Hermitage. And we can see them there. And perhaps welcoming, I see somebody called Bhavana. That might be Seminary Satyama from the Bhavana Society, but I'm not sure whether it is or not. We can begin with the chanting program. This is a simple chanting and the opportunity to take the 5 precepts for those, which is usually done at the Wat Buddhanasorn at their regular Tuesday programs. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Svakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namami. Namo tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Iti piso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vinga Karana Sampanno Sugato Lokavidu Anuttaro Purisadam Asarati Sattha Deva Manusanang Buddho Bhagavati. Svakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditiko Akaliko Ehipassiko Opanayiko Pachatang Veditabo Vimnyuhiti. Suparipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ujupatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Nyayapatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sami Kripatripanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Yalidam Chaptari Purisa Yugani Yatta Purisa Pungala Esa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Da Kirneyo Anjali Karuniyo Anuntaram Punya Ketang Lokasati. Now, requesting the precepts, recite together with me. Mayang Band Ayya Visung Rakanataya Tisaranena Saha Panchasilani Yakchami Dutiyampi Mayang Aye Visung Rakanataya Tisaranena Saha Panchasilani Yakchami Tatiyampi Mayang Aye Visung Rakanataya Tisaranena Saha Panchasilani Yachami. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sangham saranang gacchami. The precepts. Panatipata veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Kame sumikkhakara veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Sura meraya majjapamadhatthana veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. The principal teaching of the Buddha. Sabapapa sakanang kusala supasampadam sachitta pariyodapanang etang buddhana sasanang. Honoring the parents. Ananda guna sampanna janeti janaka ubo maihang mata pitunang va padevannami sadarang hetena satyavanjena sada soti bhavantu me. honoring the teachers. Pakera Karya Hunti Gunuttaranusasaka Panyavudikare Te Dinnovade Namamihang Hetena Sakshivajena Hotu Me Jaya Mangalam. Metta Bhavana. Sabe Satta Sukhita Huntu Avera Huntu Ambya Panja Huntu Anika Huntu Sukhiyatanang Pariharantu. Dear friends, we are at the just the second day of the 3 months of the Vasa retreat. Last night was the full moon. And you know that we have been encouraging, and many of you have considered making a resolution or an adhitthana decision for practicing during this 3-month Vasa period. The bhikkhunis are making a resolution like that, each one individually, according to what's the most meaningful for her. I thought that for the meditation, one could pay a special attention to making that decision just to sit and be present for meditation. Letting go of all of the excitement of the day. I'm smiling at my colleague here because we had a very exciting afternoon. We had a little fender bender this afternoon, and so that created a lot of physical and mental stress, even though it was a very simple event. And so then it's important, isn't it, whatever happens, to be able to let go of the whatever has been aroused in us, whether it be a surprise or whether it be being very involved in some project or some plan or something that we want, or whether we be involved in simply being preoccupied or distracted with many different things. Make the decision before we start meditation to release and let go of all that, to be available for a very simple, peaceful sitting where there's only one job during the meditation, and that is mindfulness, to be aware of whatever is arising, to be aware of the arising and cessation of whatever comes up during the sit, to watch in full awareness without any clinging. Bringing the body to an upright and balanced posture. Bringing awareness to the physical body, which helps to bring us to the present moment. Aware of whatever sensation is noticeable. The weight of the body pressing on the chair or the cushion. Any tightness or tension held anywhere in the body. And letting that tension, if there is any, to relax. The temperature of the air touching the skin. The touch of the clothing on the skin. Just aware of the body. Connecting awareness to the sensation in the body. any sensation like seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting. Notice them at the level of the body. The sound or the sight touching on the faculty of the senses. If the breath is noticeable, notice the movement of the breath in the body. Some other noticeable sensation, like touching in some other part of the body. One can notice that. It's still in the here and now. Then letting awareness return to the breath. And if thoughts come along that are not about the here and now, try to notice what is felt in the body, conditioned by that thought, then letting go of the thought, coming back to the body, letting awareness return again and again to the body and the sensation in the body. If any thoughts are touching our awareness, bring the attention to how that is touching the body. Just like a sound, a sight, or a smell. Bring it back to the body. How is the body right then? Being touched by a sound, touched by a sight, touched by a smell, or touched by a thought. And then bringing in the thought of kindness for my own true happiness and the true happiness for every being. And notice what changes in the body when that thought of kindness comes along. And when you're ready, gently opening the eyes, coming back to a more ordinary level of awareness. Before I speak about Dhamma theme this evening, I will ask if there's any questions, particularly about meditation. Okay, Flo.
Thank you, Ayya. I, um, a little bit of background. I've like been disabled, but it has been getting worse over the last 4 or 5 years, and I sometimes struggle when I'm trying to meditate when I'm already in a place of pain. But I noticed today, when you asked us to focus on kindness and how that connected to our body, my body felt like a little lighter, a little better. Um, and I feel like the answer to this is yes, but I feel like I get something out of asking. I feel like metta and kindness for me has always been one of the easier subjects. Like it's easier for me to concentrate on it, and I notice like a very immediate feeling better with it. Um, And I'm wondering if I should try putting a lot of focus and time on metta in particular, whereas most of the time in the past I focused on the breath.
Mm-hmm. That's a wonderful question, and I'm so glad that you report clearly noticing how the shift in the body tone happened when the thought of metta comes along. The way that I learned particular style of metta meditation from Bhante Sujato was based on first developing very clear mindfulness in the body, uh, mindfulness of feelings, and and that then having that strong mindfulness, then when there is intentionally arousing the thought of kindness, then one can notice how the body changes, and then when the body changes, just the thought of kindness causes some changes in the physical body, and then those changes can be felt, can be noticed, and then in that way, it's possible to have the metta meditation be much more effective because, in effect, you're bringing the entire person to loving kindness. It's not just something that's just at verbal level or not just only at a mental level, but both the mental and the physical is all united. And another aspect of this, should you wish to go on with developing metta meditation as a major practice, which I think would be a really great idea, would be that to have a balance of spending a certain amount of time getting the mindfulness of the body up to a certain level, and then bring in the thought of kindness, and then the sensation or the feeling associated with kindness is naturally either pleasant or kind of neutral, but typically the feeling of kindness is not painful. And so then that makes it a much a great topic of meditation to stabilize the meditation, because it's enjoyable, and so then it's the meditation can be stabilized in that way, and then the sensations in the body are like a sort of a barometer. So like if you're practicing metta meditation, then you start thinking about your problems or something, then the feeling changes, and instead of the sensation of kindness, you have the sensation of tension or something, because of thing. And so then, because the mindfulness is up at a really good level, then your body, you have an instant feedback, says, "Oh, I've lost, I've gone off from my theme of meditation. Let me come back to kindness." So it's both a wonderful practice for pain management and a wonderful practice when it's done in this style for the body awareness and the thought of loving kindness, both to be developed and brought to full development, brought to the maximum development, which is very good. So yes, thank you for that observation. That's just what I was hoping for.
Thank you, Ayya.
Yes, Medikant is going to add part of it.
I was just inspired by the topic of metta, and I just wanted to share one little trick. If someone is, I do this sometimes if I'm thinking a lot and I can't really overcome the thoughts, like I might have a project I need to do. So a way to have metta in thoughts is just that I just imagine that I do the things I have to do with a lot of metta. So whatever is going in the mind, just like, okay, I have to do that, but what if I do it with a lot of kindness? So that can be a way to like just calm down thinking without sort of moving it towards peace. So I just wanted to share that.
Great, thank you. These two comments are a kind of a beautiful segue into the theme that I wanted to develop tonight, and that is about a right thought or right intention, which is if you wanted to make a fresh beginning, let's say, it's New Year's Day and you're going to make a resolution for the whole year or make a resolution for the Vasa, or any time of day or night. The mind is constantly forming intentions, and each time that an intention is created, it is a kind of a beginning. So then the description of a right thought, or sama sankapo, includes the nekama sankapo, that's translated as renunciation, or sometimes teachers will explain it as generosity. And then abhyapajya sankapo is the thought of non-ill will, which is sometimes explained as the thought of kindness. And then the third one that's given in the traditional explanation is avihingsa sankapo, which is the thought of non-harming, which is sometimes explained as the thought of compassion. So it's absolutely true that, as Anagarika Mitakanti was mentioning, thinking of taking something that's difficult and or where say worrying about a problem or something like that, that it's like something about stress and aversion is sort of dominating, that can be transformed and turned around by bringing in the thought of kindness, and to have like a shift in attitude or a shift of approach towards that particular theme or that topic. And it's wonderful for this group because the majority in this group are lay people. And so when they think about nekama, or the thought of renunciation, this is very often associated with the brahmacharya lifestyle, the celibate monastic lifestyle, which is renouncing a lot of kinds of entertainment and sensual pleasures. But then if you consider it in terms of generosity, generosity is a practice that householders are famous for being the real stars, the masters and mistresses of really outstanding generosity. During almost the entirety of this year, 2024, and somewhat before that, I was very much aware that the preceding year in 2023, the Dhamma the Sangha here, had supported, giving me a fully supported personal meditation retreat for 4 months. And so I have, because of gratitude, I had made a decision, an adhitthana, to serve the community as a way of expressing my gratitude. So I wasn't. I was explicitly trying to not worry about whether I was getting enough, this more or less or equal amount of time for the formal cushion practice, the formal meditation practice. And instead I was thinking, the service that I do for the community, let this be my way of giving back and showing my just my love and my appreciation for the community. So I was like answering the emails. That was such a great exercise in generosity, just to open each message with the thought of kindness and with the thought of trying to be quick. If somebody is asking for something, if they need something, if I could be quick to help with whatever they're asking for, or if they're simply a lot of emails are just giving out information, and so then if there's some information that's been given, can I care enough to receive the information, or do I just click onto the next one and without really taking on board or taking the time to receive that information? So then it's certainly true that the chores and the things that we need to do can certainly be done with that sense of it's a kind of a renunciation, because we're not seeking to get or gain anything. And it's a kind of generosity because we're willing to help. The majority of my colleagues are at the Aranya Bodhi Hermitage at the moment, and so just in doing some of the basic things that my colleagues have usually done without anybody asking or telling them that they must do it, then I realize that it comes to me, and so I can feed the cat and fold the tea towels and water the house plants and sweep the hallway and clean the toilet, turn on the outside sprinkler, turn off the outside sprinkler, unlock the doors in the morning, lock the doors in the evening, and pick up the mail. So many different things that could so easily be done in a spirit of frustration and frustration. Say, oh, I have other things now. What about my work? What about the important things that I'm supposed to be doing? And these things are not important. The other things are more important. And but that kind of thought is the opposite of renunciation. Renunciation just takes whatever is at hand to be done, and if it's something that's harmless, if to fold up the towels, the freshly laundered towels, that doesn't hurt anybody. It doesn't hurt me. It doesn't hurt anybody at all. And so I should be really glad and happy that here is something that can be done, which is not causing any harm to anybody. So maybe that's part of the harmlessness. When intention is formed, what I have learned about it, in part balancing the Dhamma, but also from some more like a modern brain science thought or something. It seems to be that there's some kind of a change in the environment, which could be something that external, like running into another vehicle. It's a change in the environment. Or it could be something internal, like after not having eaten for a certain amount of time, then because of hunger or dropping the blood sugar or something like that. So that's a change. Or it could be because of the passage of time that one is becoming sleepy, or because of any number of things. So many different situations, and they all evoke feelings and perceptions. The feelings and perceptions come together, and they sort of have a sort of like a synergy together, which very much affect what color the feeling tone might have. So then, for example, a person who was not mindful, not self-aware, or not tuned into the changes in the body, they could be hungry, but they don't know where it's they don't really know what's happening. It's just something unpleasant or restless has come over them. But if they didn't recognize it as hunger, then it could be, the mind could have fabricated all kinds of different stories, that so-and-so always does that to me. And it could be that, that might be true, that everybody's out to get me. But it's also can be true that really that's nothing to do with it. It's just merely hunger. And then if one is able to recognize that, then one can practice patience, patient abiding with being hungry. Or if it's time for the meal, one can have the meal or take some nutrition. But there's a particular moment when the perception sort of crystallizes, and you have some clarity about what you think is going on. And then right along with that perception is the moment where the decision to take some action can happen. So that's the formation of an intention. There's a natural phenomenon that's described about how there's a kind of a synergy. So one might notice the changes in the body because of something internal or external, which is manifesting in terms of some kind of a shift in the feeling tone. And then if a perception comes along, the perception itself may be a trigger for stronger feelings to arise. And then one can get oneself wound up to the stage that you decide that you have to do something about it. So that's kind of how decisions can happen. That's wherein we're intentionally doing something. If you're not mindful, this spinning up of the feeling and the perceptions synergizing with each other and making a decision and doing something can all happen without very much conscious awareness at all. And then you find that you're embarrassed because you've done something that may or may not have been skillful and you don't really know why you did it. But if you've got a lot of mindfulness and you're clear, then there's the opportunity to make skillful choices. Or even to put, instead of have that winding up and synergizing towards deciding that you have to do something, that one can make the opposite decision, and by having a different kind of a perception, like a peaceful perception, and that it lets sort of like wind down for a bit, and then sometimes you're able to just leave it be, or let it go, that it's not necessary to do anything. A major factor for the type of decisions that get made would be one's habits. So if you always have a same reaction to the same situation, this has been happening to me recently. For some reason, this mind, whenever I can't find something, being in a community with a lot of people, then it's always possible that somebody else has used something and they forgot to replace it. But I noticed it happened to me like 3 times recently that I couldn't find the X-Acto knife. I looked where it belonged and I couldn't find it. And then the immediate fabrication that came up was somebody borrowed the X-Acto knife and they didn't put it back. In which case, the resulting action with that would be that I'll bring it up in the morning meeting. And even, ask for the whole community to be better so that I won't have to feel frustrated. But then it turns out it was right there all the time. I just didn't see it. And so this actually happened to me 2 times in a row within the past a couple of days. And so now 2 times is almost the beginning of a habit. So there's like this fabrication that people are intentionally like trying to torture me by using things and then not putting them away afterwards. That this is like I should have a danger whenever that thought arises, that probably it's not true, and probably I need to take a deep breath and bring up the thought of compassion and just look again and look more carefully, because I'm quite sure that nobody in our Sangha is intentionally trying to torture me. If you are interested in making a determination and having it not just be something that you thought about for a minute and then it didn't have any, sometimes we make a resolution or a decision and then it doesn't really have any legs. So then the good intention that we have doesn't become a habit, or doesn't become well established, doesn't become cultivated, developed, brought to the perfection of cultivation, where it brings about fruition in the wholesome development along the path. So it seems to me that actually doing some like self-observation about many, many dozens or hundreds of times a day that one makes a decision. And notice what's really going on when a person makes a decision. How are those decisions conditioned? And then, is it possible, if you want to take a long-term program, to remind yourself or create the conditions? Maybe you need to put a note on your top of the computer. Here, I'll put a note about what was the adhitthana that I'm hoping to make. And so then each time I look at the computer, I will be reminded, oh, I wanted to have that, make that determination, make that decision, and I wanted to follow through on it. So if I just remember it and recall it again and again, then simply by pondering, it could have a chance to come to fruition. Or it could be that if I'm practicing mindfulness and clear comprehension, if I'm practicing yoni samanisikara, looking in a methodical way, directing awareness to what's going on within me, and also looking at causation, then I may be able to notice the causes that are supporting making a good decision and keeping it. There's another aspect of this idea of like making a new beginning, or making a determination, or having a fresh start. And that is that it's not just at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the vasa, the beginning of the day, the beginning of the hour, the beginning of a sit, that one has the opportunity for a fresh start. If one realizes about the nature of impermanence with the continuous rising and cessation of phenomena, then and the ever-changing qualities and characteristics of how the mind is going along, then one can see that each moment is actually a fresh start. So, in that case, it could be that the mental habits that we have, which are perhaps not that skillful, are leading us to have stereotype reactions where like the same thought or a similar thought keeps coming up again and again. So the mind becomes obsessed with some kind of a theme or some kind of a typical thought, a typical reaction. And then it can seem as if there isn't really anything fresh. That the mind is a very stale kind of a drudgery that keeps going around and around on the same, what you could say, a rat race or a merry-go-round or something. That if you keep thinking the same thought or the same kind of thought again and again and again and again, it's like you're feeding yourself the same kind of nutriment, and that nutriment is bringing up the same kind of reactions. And you might not even see that actually it's not just like the drudgery of sameness, but it's just something similar that's happening again and again and again, many, gazillions of times. So in that case, they say that one idea is, a person who's in the habit of doing unwholesome karmas, making unwholesome choices, unwholesome decisions that lead to painful results, and that's heading them towards a hell realm of some sort, or making their present life seem to be kind of a hell realm. And then if they could learn to substitute less hellish kinds of habits, have more better habits, more clear habits, learn how to arouse something that's a wholesome intention, a good, and then have at least enough mindfulness to notice that harmless, wholesome decisions are inherently less painful than the unskillful ones. But then, in order to really realize how truly fresh each moment could be, then it seems to me that practicing in a way which is inclining to the end of karma, so that goes beyond just practicing to develop the thought of loving kindness, the thought of non-ill will, the thought of non-harming, and letting the decisions arise from those kinds of thoughts. But then even beyond that, finding the space in between this formation of decisions and intentions, where phenomenon or what we experience is simply arising because of causes and conditions, and we don't need to do anything about it. Then that opens up that kind of a spaciousness. And with that, not having a stereotype reaction to the things that happen to us day by day, creates the possibility for this freshness, this newness to come about, so that each moment really is a new moment, each breath really is a new breath. And it's the fresh start is always possible. There's a sutta that I've quoted before in this class about the it's in the Kanda Samyutta, I think, where somebody is thinking about the karmic retribution, the punishment for our previous good deeds, and how one could possibly get out of it. And the Buddha poses three possibilities. One is a person who thinks that they killed in the past, and therefore they're bound for hell, and there's no escape. And what the Buddha says is, well, there's so many moments in the day. What percentage of the moments were you involved in killing, and what percentage were you not killing? And even somebody who's a professional murderer might only commit like 20 or 30 murders in a whole year. So they're not actually killing for the majority of moments during the day. So there's a kind of a space there. And therefore, it's like not absolutely necessarily a sure thing that one is going to be destined for hell just because of having killed on one occasion in the past. And then the second kind of person is the person who's making the opposite mistake or on the opposite end of things, saying, well, most of the time I'm good, and so I'm just going to experience the karmic result according to what's going on the majority of the time. And the Buddha said, well, that's not really accurate either to how it really happens. And then the third possibility is what he recommended is that if you would, if somebody has killed, if they would have this reflection, I know that I've killed before, but I have learned that the Blessed One advises non-killing as part of the way to liberation. So therefore, right now, I shall make the adhitthana, I shall make the determination, the strong decision not to kill anymore. And that is how the negative effect of previous action can be unwound. And that is even how it's possible to develop the mind that you're getting out of the karmic merry-go-round of doing deeds and getting the various kinds of punishments and rewards based on the flavor of the deeds that you've been doing. But instead, getting onto the path of this Noble Eightfold Path, which ultimately is leading one towards being beyond this creation of karma. So when you get to the end, you will not be affected by craving or clinging or aversion, and not being affected by craving, clinging, or aversion. And no matter what happens, you will not feel disturbed. And not feeling disturbed, you will be at peace. And with that peace and that non-disturbance, the clarity of wisdom will arise. The knowledge of non-self will come to be irrevocable. The delusion of self will not arise at all. And with that non-delusion, the asavas fall away, and one is gone beyond the reach of karma. And then everything will be fresh. And every minute or every moment truly will be absolutely a fresh start. But as we go along now, as a result of developing more and more mindfulness, both in terms of simply being able to have the quiet, observing mind, which is just simply aware and not picking up the necessity for action. That's one part of it. But also having the yoni samanasikara, the methodical or the wise awareness to understand our process, understand how intentions get formed, understanding which kinds of decisions or what kind of intentions can be helpful to us as we cultivate along this path, and discover how these decisions or these intentions can be done with the right kind of full awareness so that they can have some power, have some legs, become effective, and help us to go along the way of developing in this path of practice. So that's my reflection, and I'm because this is the last Tuesday in the month. I know that some of you are used to the program being over at 8:30, but I'm able to stay on if you'd like to stay with me for another 25 minutes to hear your questions or what your reflection is, what you know from your own experience, your own practice, and your own learning that you would like to share about making good decisions that will have legs and that will lead us in an onward direction along this path. I'm going to invite Anagarika Mitakanti again.
Well, one thing I found myself thinking during the talk was that I guess in those periods of time in my life where I've been able to put just put good intentions into most of the stuff I'm doing, those are generally quite good periods. And it's weird, like after a day of doing that, it's meditation is also much easier. So seems to be a very strong transfer there, from just what we do during the day to into the meditation. But also another question that came up was that thinking about sort of having practiced for a long time, it sort of oscillates between sometimes doing good things because I feel inspired and happy, but sometimes like not doing good things and avoiding bad things, even if I'm not so inspired, but just because I know that, okay, I'm going to regret it big time if I start doing stupid things. So I was wondering if you could sort of, maybe say something about the short term and sort of the long term, because I guess many people in this group have probably practiced for a long time. So then you get to see some of the bigger patterns, and you've been in the ropes for quite a long time. So maybe you have some comments about that.
Actually, I think that the decisions that are based on feeling good may be less reliable, and the ones that are based on a wider, a longer pattern may be more reliable because they're not subjected to the different moods and emotions that could come along. They say that hiri otapa is considered to be a tremendous asset when it's well developed, and even if you know what that means and you develop it very clearly, that you could say that hiri is sometimes translated as moral shame, but it more positively could be translated as a conscience that you would it's not like an identification, but it does have some aspects that are sort of like an identification. So other people may kill, I don't kill. Other people may steal, I don't steal. Or I've developed this I've come this far down the road of not harming, and I would not want to lose what I've gained by coming so far with these good patterns. So no matter if it's difficult or challenging, I want to keep that. And then the otapa is sometimes described negatively as like a fear of the negative, painful result of an unskillful deed. It's also sometimes translated as a prudence. So conscience and prudence. So a prudent is like more like being aware of the external circumstances. I find prudence to be something that's very useful in considering the many times when it's not necessarily clear and obvious what decision one should make at a particular moment in time. Like, should I, if I had a child, should I overlook the shortcomings of my child in order to be kind? Or should I discipline my child and point out their shortcomings? So, it's sometimes is difficult. Takes like insight and wisdom, a certain kind of like worldly wisdom, to have the insight into knowing what's going to be most beneficial for that child at that time. But then the underlying motive, the intention, is for the welfare of that child. So the intention is absolutely clear. You're not making any compromises on the intention, that you intend to do what's for the welfare of that child, but then you don't always know how that becomes manifested. And a lot of times when people come up and, with the questions about the dilemmas of their daily life, the answer, it's not just an answer, do this, don't do that. The answer is about developing the clear, beautiful intentions or motivations, and then also having wisdom and common sense, and then do your best with that. But if we know that the foolish behavior has unfortunate results, and we've learned that from the past, then it's perfectly okay to avoid that foolish behavior because you don't want those results. Yeah. Okay, Richard.
Thank you, Ayya. Excuse me. I'm not sure if I understood it correctly, but earlier Flo was talking about because she's had some sickness or something. So it might be painful for her at times to do meditation. Is that the correct interpretation? Would you say?
That meditating with pain can be challenging,
Yes.
but she noticed that when arousing loving kindness, that the pain subsided, the bodily pain subsided.
Right. So just in case, the point I wanted to address is that I know it's commonly taught that if you're experiencing pain or something, meditation, to either just grit your teeth and bear it and try to, keep going, ignore it, or some teachers will say, well, focus completely on the pain and things like that. And I myself had an experience with that many years ago when I first started doing Zen meditation. Unknown to me, I had a slight scoliosis in my back. So when I was sitting very straight, in the meditation cushion, because of the imbalance in my back, it caused a problem in my, what you might call your soft tissue, where the shoulder blade kind of comes in near the spine. And so I went to the head monk there and told them that I was having this pain in my back. And he gave me that kind of advice. Oh, just grit your teeth and bear it. And just, unfortunately, it turned into a permanent problem. But I was a young guy. I didn't know much better myself. So I'm not blaming him in any way, but that's very common advice. However, if you examine very carefully the suttas, I don't read anywhere in any sutta someone saying, "Oh, I'm doing meditation. I'm experiencing extreme bodily pain, and I'm gritting my teeth and bearing it, and just keep going." There is an indication on the night of Buddha's enlightenment where he says that when he sat down, he made a determination. Even if my body, dries up and withers away, whatever, my blood dries up, whatever, and dies, blows away in the wind, I'm not going to get up from this seat. But within that one night, he did become completely enlightened. So it meant that his mind, when he made that determination, he's like right at the edge, ready to go. And if you look at another sutra, I think it's called The Single Excellent Night, and a number of senior disciples all give their example of what to do. Now, keep in mind, the sutra is called A Single Excellent Night. And when it comes to the Buddha says to make that determination, that if one sits down and makes that determination, no matter what. But again, it's in the framework of a single. And so when one gets that point, one is generally very, very advanced already in their meditation practice and things of that nature. So what I've learned to do over time is to mitigate the pain so that it doesn't distract you. Try to find a way to sit or do your meditation, with a minimum amount of pain. And other things like, you might be sitting and meditating, and it happens to me once in a while. I start getting like an itch or something on my cheek, in like one spot, like a zing, And so I used to do that, just try to like forget about it and tolerate it. And sometimes it would go away, sometimes it wouldn't. But then I discovered it was much better just to maintain mindfulness and mindfully reach up. And usually if you just touch that spot, the itch disappears, and then you maintain your mindfulness and you put your hand back and you just, go on in your meditation. And in other words, don't let it be a distraction per se, because you're already aware of it. In a sense, it's already a distraction, but maintain your mindfulness at all times. Oh, okay, there's this itch on my cheek. It's not going away. So I will just raise my hand up totally consciously, touch it, up, it's gone, put my hand back down and refocus my mind, in meditation. And I find those type of approaches, finding the best way to sit where pain is, potential pain is mitigated as much as possible. If one is very sick, one might just lay down and do meditation. Many times there were monks that were deathly ill, and the Buddha went to visit them. And when they realized the Buddha was coming, they would try to get up, and Buddha was, no, stay there. I know you're deathly ill. I know you're very sick. Just stay there. You know what I mean? There's no need for fancy protocol or anything at a time like this. And he would always ask them, is your difficulty, is your sickness getting better? Is your pain, whatever, subsiding? And usually they would reply, no, my sickness seems to be getting worse. My pain is increasing, like that. So the object in Buddhism is not to make, more pain, more suffering, more difficulty for yourself. It's to settle your mind down and separate yourself out and let the pain go away. And even Buddha in his old age, when he was near death, he told Ananda, he says, I'm always in pain all the time, and the only time I can be free of it is when I go into high-level jhanic states. I'm sure he meant fourth jhana or formless states, where one forgets completely about the body. And so you know, he didn't say that he ran after the pain, he embraced it, and he just kept focusing on the pain. He said that he had a technique, a way to, you know, escape, you know, to go beyond the pain, to let the pain go, to forget about that state of body. Anyways, I'm just, because of my own experience, I'm just worried that somebody might overdo it and cause themselves, like I did, you know, permanent injury and things like that. Something that you have to deal with, you know, painful condition for the rest of your life. And so I'm just trying to help others maybe avoid those type of things that I don't believe it's necessary at all. Anyway, that's just my point of view. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
listening.
Yes, it's true that we have heard different options as far as coping with bodily pain that happens in meditation. And especially persons who've had, because of injury or an illness, had chronic painful situations, that we hear this advice to, you know, zero in and really focus on the pain, or ignore the pain and pay attention to some different part of the body, making adjustments in the posture. I would say that in general, whether it be physical or psychological, that it's not necessary to go looking for trouble while we're in meditation. So instead, we practice setting up the mind in a way which is going to be as comfortable and peaceful as possible, in a quiet space, with the bodily posture organized in a way that's as comfortable as possible. And actually, like, you know, like the full lotus posture or the half lotus posture or the sitting with an upright back, that those postures are recommended because for a person who's got enough flexibility in the limbs, it is the most comfortable, the most stable, and the most comfortable posture to be able to sit, especially for longer lengths of time. But if because of injuries and illness you can't do that, then you have to find some different posture and cope with having perhaps a posture that's not as stable, or else in which other problems such as drowsiness could, like in the lying down posture, is to learn how to manage that in a way to not be overtaken by drowsiness. These are examples, actually. It's kind of similar, isn't it, to this idea of like prudence, that you got your basic intention, your aspiration, your goal. What are you doing it for? You're doing it for cultivation. In this case, if it's meditation, you're doing it to learn how to escape from the hindrances and experience that freedom from hindrances, to experience that stillness of the mind, to experience an altered state of consciousness which is not beset by the continuous practical demands of life, so that one can like come to know that our typical habitual reactions to the constant problems of life is not the only way to be, that there are like different ways of experience, and then, you know, having the potential of seeing in a more radical way the possibility of reframing how we understand and how we take the phenomenon that arise to our experience. But we're not doing it for self-punishment, for sure. Sitting in an uncomfortable posture and then holding it in a way that is exacerbating bodily injury, even doing harm to the body, is not what we're seeking. and mentally or psychologically. If a person is, suppose somebody's had a loss and they're in a state of grief. This is my equivalent from my own experience. If I sat down to meditation thinking I'm going to ponder on grief and sorrow, that would not lead to productive meditation. But if I sit down for meditation intending to simply be in full awareness of the breath, or intending the practice of loving kindness, then it could happen, from time to time, waves of sorrow come over and come into the meditation and then go out of the meditation. And when that happens, I can be aware of it mindfully, but I'm not seeking that something which is painful. Instead, I'm choosing the method of meditation is something which is either able to be held with a lot of equanimity and conducive to neutral feeling, or else it can be the aspects of meditation which are blissful and sublime and conducive to discovering the inner happiness which is not depending on sensual pleasure. And so we aim for that. Aim for what meditation is offering. Don't aim for pain or self-torture. That's not the Buddhist teaching. Let me see if anybody else has a question. Okay, this may be enough. I'm going to answer you afterwards. So we can close by giving respect to the Triple Gem. Araham Samma Sambuddha Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Suvakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namami.
Thank you, Ayya, for your lesson.
Okay.
3 bow to our teacher.
Sabbe Buddha Balapata Pachekanam Jayambalam Avahantanam Chite Jena Wakam Badami Sabaso.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good night, Ayya.
Okay, good night.